friends, Amy from Attainable Hospitality here, and now I would just like to talk about the hospitality formula. What what is hospitality actually made of? We've looked at the definition, we've looked at the biblical commands towards hospitality, but really, what does that mean? What practical steps can we take in order to show hospitality to people? And so just imagine with me for a moment that you are the recipient of traditional hospitality. So what would have occurred? Your host or hostess would have invited you over, the stereotypical, hospitality image that we get in our head. So your host or hostess would have invited you over to their house and, maybe sat you down on the sofa, and maybe there's some other people mingling around too. They might be kind of jumping from person to person, saying, "Oh, can I get you something to drink? Oh, do you need a refill? Are you hungry? Are you, are you too hot? Are you too cold?" Just kind of keeping the temperature of of the party, of the situation, just making sure that they notice when you need something, and then they are quick to provide it if they can. So that's kind of that stereotypical housewife, coffee date hospitality. And really it gives us a good example of that formula, the basic formula of what hospitality truly is. And then you apply those things to different contexts, and you see that hospitality, it doesn't always look the same, but it kind of follows the same pattern. So the first was the invitation. Hospitality, it begins with an invitation, whether it's an invitation in the mail saying, "Hey, come to my party," or maybe it's just a friendly smile and inviting someone to talk to you while you're, in the grocery store in line. It doesn't have to be formal. It doesn't have to be, "I'm inviting you to." It's really just being approachable and inviting, and just kind of having that presence about you that says, "Hey, I notice is next, but I want to be in your presence. I want to spend time with you." And sometimes that does look like a formal invitation to an event, but in so many other contexts it doesn't have to. Or, "Hey, I'm inviting you, like, let's go meet for coffee." That's an invitation. So hospitality, it begins with that invitation. And then next is observation. It's really looking to see and kind of take a pulse on that other person and see, okay, what do you need right now? What am I seeing about this other person? Are they crying? Do they need a tissue? Like, do they need a hug? Or maybe they just had a baby. Do they need a meal or someone to go vacuum their floors for them? So really just observing the other person and noticing those details about just their current situation, their current life, their current emotional state. And that leads very well into the third part of the formula, which is meeting the needs that you can meet. If they're at your house, do they need a drink of water? You go get a drink of water, or give them a hug or whatever. But using what you do have, and again, it's not about what you don't have, it's about what you do have control over, and meeting those needs, and just making the person feel loved through that process, through that formula of inviting them, making them feel welcome. And then noticing details about them, saying, "Oh, I like your shirt," or it's so common sense that I chuckle, but at the same time, we have this concept of hospitality, of the housewife in the poodle skirt, and just all these frills and bells and whistles that don't need to be there. And so we really have to strip it away to be more confident and comfortable, being like, "Okay, so I've invited the person, I've noticed, like, oh, they just seem really stressed out, like, what can I do to help them? Maybe they just need to talk." And so being available and spending your time with them, or maybe introducing them to a new friend, or whatever. There's so many needs out there, I can't remotely begin to cover them all in a short little video, but really, when we keep that formula in the back of our minds, hospitality becomes so much more attainable and so much easier and simpler because it's stuff we do all the time. And when we're more intentional about it, then we're going to be more successful with it. We're going to do it more, and we're going to see the fruit of that because we'll be blessing others. I mean, just a simple fact of noticing someone, if they're in a really vulnerable and lonely state, that is huge. That is so huge. And, you know, meeting needs, you know, that kind and generous reception again. Being generous with what you have. Maybe maybe you don't buy yourself a $300 purse. Maybe you just use what you already have and go spend your extra money buying someone lunch or whatever. But being generous with what you have, because again, hospitality is not about, it's not about me, it's not about you, it's not about us as individuals or hostesses or anything like that. It's really about us showing love to those people around us. And when we really take the time to strip hospitality bare and just begin to be more intentional about how we approach others and how we love them in a practical way, then we start to show hospitality just without even thinking about it. And again, it's not a big dinner party. It's really just how we are approaching others and how approachable we are. And you know, hospitality, it's just, I think it's so close to God's heart, because through hospitality we're being the hands and feet of Jesus to those around us, and we are just being a living example of kindness and love. And the world certainly needs more of that. And if we can just be more intentional about it and not be so scared to put ourselves out there, then I think just in our little spheres of influence, we can do a lot of good. And you know, it continues to build from there. So I just encourage you, look at the formula, look at that basic formula of hospitality and start there. And yeah, maybe add a dinner party later on, maybe, you know, coffee or something. But it's really not about those things. Those are the extras. So don't have those be stumbling blocks for you. Really focus on those basic principles of what hospitality is, and then kind of build upon it as your strengths and as your resources allow. But that's all you need to do. It's hospitality. It's quite attainable.